So at the very beginning of 2023, I made the decision that I was healing, that I was going to move forward and be there for my kids whenever our reunion would be, whatever day that would be. And I was determined that I was going to move forward, be there for my children whenever reunion time came, and be the best version of myself on that day. What you'll come to realize, if you don't already, is that so many things are out of our control as mothers who no longer get to make decisions about our children, for our children, that impacts them, their life, nothing. We have no control of our children anymore. And so to kind of calm down that panic, I think that's a natural reaction for a mother to feel when she loses all authority and control and decision making of her child and being in their life, to kind of calm that panic. I focused on, well, what is in my control? Instead of focusing on what wasn't, that used to be, that should be, that was supposed to be, instead focusing on, okay, well, what is in my control? What is in my circle of control? And the number one thing that came out and still does for me is the person that my children meet on the day of our reunion. That is the one thing I do have control over. I have complete control over the person that they meet on that day. And so at the beginning of 2023, I became determined that on the day of reunion with my children, whenever that may be, that my children were going to meet a strong, wise, responsible, stable mother, woman who had an abundance of unconditional love to give them. They were going to meet a mother who was healing and who is grounded and balanced and stable enough to take on whatever healing they may need. The first step was making the decision that I was going to crawl out of this dark, hollow pit of hell and begin healing. I didn't realize what I was doing at that time, at the very beginning of my journey, was getting to a grounded place, to a somewhat stable looking place, mentally and emotionally. Looking back, I realized, well, that made sense. I had to get somewhat stable and grounded for the actual healing to begin. And so mindset was the first phase of my healing journey. Our mind, our thoughts control our emotions. And so when my thoughts are stuck in this mind loop of catastrophizing and thinking the worst and filling in gaps from the past and the trauma with the worst case scenario, there were things I didn't remember. There was a lot of things that I didn't know. Like when my children were removed from my ex's care and put into foster care, I don't know what they experienced. I can guess. And I would spiral at just the thought of that for a very long time, until I realized I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was like. I don't know what they felt, and that helps ground me. So getting control of my thoughts was the first phase. If I make the decision, which I did, that happiness is a choice, then my thoughts are going to be positive. I'm naturally kind of a positive person, but I really put effort into being an even more positive person, is what I did. I had affirmations all over my house, on mirrors, on my refrigerator, on the rear view mirror of my car, positive affirmation. My YouTube playlist was filled with positive videos, The Secret being one of them. Louise Hay House. She was someone I turned to a lot on YouTube to help me be positive and stay positive. So was Wayne Dyer. I watched my vocabulary very closely, and I only had to do so with intent for like maybe a week. And then I naturally would not so much monitor my thoughts like the first week, but after that, it's kind of like I just did it. And so that little quick filter that we all have, or most of us have, where we think before we speak, like that little split second of a filter we have, mine was automatically checked with, is this positive? Is this positive? So those are things that worked for me during that very first phase to pull me out of that dark pit through positivity and gratitude, which we'll talk about next. And then once I practiced, achieved, and did those things, I became more grounded. And then the real healing work begins. And then I was able to deal with my emotions, because nowhere in this video have I said, and I certainly haven't meant to presume to anyone that what I'm saying is to ignore your feelings. I'm not saying that. Well, okay. Right now, in the beginning, when you're just starting your healing journey, it is okay to ignore your feelings, I think. I think that after a severe traumatic trauma, like a mother losing her child, that little batches of faking it till you make it are okay. Like whatever you have to do that's healthy and doesn't hurt anybody else to get up out of that pit and on your way to on your way of a healing path, do whatever you have to do. And so I had to fake it till I can make it and push my emotions to the side. Is that healthy? No. Do you soon have to deal with your emotions? Yes. You have to feel it to heal it. That is very true. But that first phase, I faked it till I made it. Besides positivity and gratitude, which I said we would get to next. So let me pause here and go to gratitude. Gratitude, I had a gratitude journal beside my bed, and I really did write down 5 things every day that I was grateful for. And it really does train your brain from that for throughout your whole day. Your mind will, it's like a muscle. It learns it. Doing that trained my mind for throughout my day to pick up on the positive things, or to see the beauty in something that could be seen in a different negative, ugly way. It really did build this muscle in my brain to seek out positivity throughout my whole day. And I really was a positive person back then, like more than I am now. I kind of miss that. But having a gratitude journal that I consistently wrote in every morning, every night, both at least once, really did help me become a more positive person. After your 3rd or 5th journal entry, you've already listed 15 to 25 things that you're grateful for, and then it becomes more difficult because you don't want every entry to be the exact same thing, and so then you get a little creative. You're like, okay, well, I'm grateful for hot water, and I'm grateful for the mailman. Okay, yeah. But then after that, I had a goal not to be repetitive for the things I was grateful for. And after that, you have to really dig deep. You have to really get in tune and become aware and look around. And you will find things to be grateful for. And you will, I realized how much more we have to be grateful for in our lives than not. And to be a mother who has just lost her child, and to be able to say that, it jolts you to a level where you are more stable. And like I said, then the real healing can begin. The last thing I was going to share was that in my fake it till I made it, I was a server during this time. And being a server, my entire, well, not my entire check, but the majority of my check was based on my performance. Servers get paid a very low hourly wage, and so the money I depend on and survive on comes from my tips. Okay, and so a server's tips are directly related to their mood, their energy. I was a good server. I went to work every day, and I didn't talk about my case. I didn't talk about my children. I didn't talk about any of that. I don't remember being directly asked, do I have kids? I probably would have said no at this point. I was so desperate to get to that stable ground so I could heal. I probably would have said no. I don't remember being asked. I do remember a couple of conversations co-workers were having about their children, and I felt very uncomfortable, and so I tried to nonchalantly slip away from that conversation. But every day I showed up cheerful, upbeat, positive, ready to serve, ready to please, and inside I was dying. Yeah, so that's faking it till you make it. And it worked for me. There is one more thing significant that I did during this time period that I'll save for the next video. And then I'll have a video on our circle of control to do more of a deep dive on that, and what is that and how do you apply that. And then my third video, which will be my second video after this one, we'll get into topics and my experiences where the real healing began. So I'm Sam. You can look below and see my socials and follow me there. If you are still watching, thank you. I am a parent advocate for parents with open CPS cases, and I do a lot of talking about ambiguous grief because there's not a language that's accepted in our world, in our society, about ambiguous grief, and I think there should be. And there is a very strong stigma, judgment on parents, especially mothers who don't have their children, and I don't think that there should be. So I know I still get judged, but it doesn't bother me because I know I was a good mom. I know it. Like, I am certain I was a good mom. When DCF removed my children, I had been parenting for 16 years. My two oldest, my 16 and 14-year-old, they weren't removed from my care. Just my younger children were, because it was their dad calling and he only included them in the calls, whatever. But I was a mother for 16 years and I was a damn good mom. And come to find out, DCF unlawfully removed my children. So in the past 3 years, since my TPR, I've been sharing my story, and I'm just dumbfounded with the number of moms with stories like mine. Hundreds of thousands, probably. Thank you for being here. If you have a question or a comment about anything today, please put it down below. It helps get my videos out there, and I want every mom in this country who is grieving and healing through ambiguous loss to see this video. So please comment, like, share if you know a mom grieving, struggling without her kids. So that's all. Thank you. I want to show you two of my gratitude journals. This one I paid for, bought and paid for. The Daily Journal of Grace. It's first prompt every day. What are 3 things that I can thank God for this morning? And then there's several more. And then this one is just a regular blank notebook that I created and made into my own gratitude journal. Each page has the date and then 1 through 5. So I could do that every night before bed, or every morning I woke up. It was usually when I did it. It'd be on my nightstand.